Hey, while I wait for this EQ to spawn, I thought I'd talk about some controversial stuff in this game. A lot of people have been complaining about the hero class, claiming that they're broken, that they take no skill, stuff like that. People have even been spreading rumors that they're going to be nerfed. I'd really hope that won't happen, simply because the requirements, while in this game, getting to the cap is not as difficult as other games, especially since there's no fatigue system. Most other games using this kind of, fast-paced, stylish, skill-based combat are still running fatigue systems because most of them come from Korea. It's still a pretty hefty requirement. You do need a pretty decent amount of gear. I pretty much had to brute force playing as Tekker. I had a random 13-star rod from like years ago, and I used that to just brute force to level 75 with the limited quest. But the requirements for it are pretty steep. I feel like if they nerf it, it's going to cause more problems than one. First off, it's going to piss off people like me who were forced to play a class that they didn't care for or had any gear for just to play. The other thing is that what people are not really remembering is that they have really bad burst damage. They don't really have that many moves that can do damage quickly like most of the other melee classes do. Fighter has backhand smash. Braver has katana combat. Even the gunner class has the chain trigger, which, even though that was nerfed with this patch, still does good damage. And summoner had that pet, the Marin Strike, or whatever it's called. I wasn't actually playing during that period of the game, but apparently it broke the game. Like most of the other classes have some kind of burst damage. The thing about the hero class is that your only real burst damage is the hero time, and you're going to be lucky to get that more than once on each map. And the way you have to get it is by playing really well. You have to switch often. You have to be playing at a close range. You can't really repeat moves too often, or the gear accumulation kind of decays a little bit or deteriorates. So you have to play really effectively, and you get that all for a 2-second attack that does crazy damage. Other than that, you don't really have a whole lot of burst damage at all. You have a lot of attacks that do damage pretty well if you switch constantly, but you don't have anything like a backhand smash or a katana combat where you can just push a button and do high damage. I feel like if they nerf it, then that's going to cause the problem of what else does the class really have. They are fun to play, but I feel like their effectiveness is going to go down quite a bit. I see obviously a lot of the MPAs right now are all heroes, and I don't think that's because they're overpowered. I think a lot of people are getting the misconception that there's a lot of heroes because they're overpowered. They are strong. They are a lot of fun to play. I think that if they made the Talus a little faster, or maybe they incorporated some other photon arts to use in the future to kind of let you customize your moveset instead of everyone just having the same loadout, that would be great. But at the same time, if they don't have any kind of burst damage, or what little burst damage they have is messed with, then they're not really going to have a lot of application in parties. They do have some pretty good crowd control. They can travel really fast, but I don't really know how much that matters in the end game in this, which is mostly the extreme quests and the emergency quests. I think people are making a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's really unnecessary. I've played the class to 75. I'm pretty deep into the end game now. I'm actually waiting for an emergency quest, so I'm going to stop in about 3 minutes. But I think people just they jump to conclusions too quickly, and I've seen it happen a lot in other games like this, like DFO and things like that. I don't think anything that's going on with the hero is as bad as stuff that's gone on in other games. DFO has such a heavy reliance on the Crusader. That's why they introduced the female priest, which I don't really know much about raids in that game, but apparently it's a lot easier to get into a raid as Crusader. They've made that class so necessary that people won't even run a raid without them. Like, this game doesn't have any problems like that. The party composition doesn't really matter too much. It is nice to have a Tekker. It is nice to have chain finish and chain trigger and stuff like that, but you can get by with pretty much anything. And I feel like they were balanced for extra hard. Heroes were balanced for the end game, and they do have a pretty significant weakness, and that is their only burst damage is tied to a bar that is both difficult to fill, and you can barely even fill it once, let alone twice. I've had to grind to fill out my bar. If you remember, I did that no damage Guarzig Morde boss a couple of days ago. I had to grind just to get that bar, and you can see that it did pretty crazy damage. The TMG One does a lot of damage, especially if you hit a weak point and you get a crit. But you only get to use that once. If you miss or something goes wrong, then all your burst damage is pretty much gone. You're going to have to play like a DMC player to really get anywhere. I hope that the thing that they're talking about today, they are going to fix the broken stuff like the infinite PP glitch. I think with one of the rings that you can get, but they said that they aren't going to change anything else. I hope that they stick to their guns and change that, and don't change that, because it's going to cause problems. It's going to make fatigue set in. It's going to make people protest and stuff. This game's had plenty of problems in the past. I mean, this is a game that deleted random files off people's hard drives in the past, so they need to do their best to not piss people off. And I hope that I hope that they just they stick to their guns, they fix the glitches, and they don't listen to all the people that are saying things that don't make sense and aren't even true. Anyway, that's all for now. The emergency quest is about to start. I'll have more gameplay later this week. Peace.